This is Towanna Freeman with the Black Life Coaches Network, and I am so glad you can join us today. You know, this is a super hot topic, and I had to reach into our network and bring out the best of the best when it comes to extramarital affairs, marriages, recovering from affairs. I tell you, today I have with us Coach Martez Layton. Welcome, Martez. How are you today?
Hi, Towanna. How are you doing today?
You know, I'm fantastic. Let me give you our audience a little background. Not only is Coach Martez an expert at this, he is also known as the affair doctor. That's it. I don't think I really need to say much more, but he is qualified to respond. More importantly, he actually is the author of a book called A Blessed Affair. So we will make sure we provide all that information to you at the end of this video. But right now, I want to get into what the hot topic is. And so many of us have watched the new television series on the OWN network that Iyanla Van Zandt is actually doing, and it's called Fix My Life. And most recently, everyone was abuzz because she had on her show a married couple who had basically found themselves in a very twisted situation where the woman's husband was cheating. He had not just one affair, but he had over 20 different affairs. Coach Martez, I brought you in because I would like you to respond to one thing that I noticed in the video or the television show with Iyanla, and that was when Iyanla said to the pastor or the cheating husband, she said these words: "Why would a woman as sweet as she is want to be with a man who has been," and you can fill in the blanks, so unfaithful, so uncaring, so disconnected. The list can go on. But the question in my mind was a perfect opportunity for him to respond. And so, Coach Martez, in your experience, when you work with your clients who have been in a situation such as this, maybe not as extreme, but been in a situation where you need to intervene, and a question is posed about why would this woman want to stay with you, isn't that an opportunity for the man or the person to respond, to give some type of support or some justification of any sort? All right, so now it's on you. Tell me what you think.
Well, definitely. That was a great question, and when I heard the question, I was really shocked myself that he didn't respond, because he could have also validated his love for his wife and the reason why she should stay with him. When I was in that situation, of course, with me and my wife, may not have been as extreme, but one of the things that I would have answered to that question is, one of the reasons that she wants to stay with me is because, first of all, we have a destiny together. We have a purpose together in our marriage to impact other people's lives. And so it's more than just what I did, but understanding what was the root and where did it come from. So I definitely disagree with him not answering it, but I think that that's one of the chances that he had to really share his deep remorse. God's grace. As being a pastor, he's preached to people for years about understanding God's grace, understanding God's forgiveness, understanding God's grace and God's mercy. And that was a great opportunity for him to put in perspective, for his wife to understand, now as a pastor, been leading people, now I need the person that I love the most to show me grace and mercy.
Oof, that was powerful. You know, Coach Martez, you're right on point. Because he is a man of God, because he understands scriptures, yes, he could have used that as a ministering opportunity to speak from his heart to his wife. You mentioned something that was super, super important, and you said that he needed to validate her. Is there an opportunity for him to validate her? Or should he, I don't know, is it something that he should have done to say, yeah, where's the, I'm concerned that I don't understand if he was in position to do that.
Okay. No, that's a great question. And Tawanna, I've been there. And the reason why I say it's so important to validate is because once infidelity comes, the wife feels there's a feeling of insecurity. There's a feeling of I'm not good enough. There's a feeling of what I could have done differently to prevent you. And especially with him having numerous affairs, it's almost like what makes these women better than me? And so what happens is in his validating, he's validating that, you are the love of my life. It was not on you. This was something that I had in my life that was a void that I needed to deal with. So he's validating her to help her to know you have a right to be secure. You have a right to hold your head up high because you've been an amazing wife. And so that's what I meant by as far as validating her that she is still beautiful because she feels like I've married you, but you don't even see me being sexual appealing or anything.
Oh, that's so true. That's an excellent point. Let me give you a clap. I want to clap for you on that. No, because this is what a lot of viewers are saying. They were saying that Iyanla kind of led the show to where the woman was going to leave the husband because that's what Iyanla intended in the beginning because she believed that he did not deserve her. And therefore, as the coach, Iyanla basically led her down the path of self-discovery, self-awareness. You don't need this mess. Move on. And so the opposing view was, hey, whatever happened to your vows, whatever happened to the forgiveness, what about grace, like you said? At the end of the day, yes, it is about what the woman is capable of handling. Is she capable of being in a place where she can forgive and move on? Is she in that place? And so it would have been a great opportunity for Iyanla not to just say you sold yourself for a hat in a parking lot, a parking spot, or whatever she kept saying, but she could have said a little bit, she could have mentioned to her that how much love do you have for this man? Why were you with him in the first place? Not talking about the hat, talking about the man that you married.
One of the things that actually concerned me too, which is a whole other perspective, when he talked about what he went through between the ages of 4 and 7, talking about that penetration. See, I understand that people want to paint him as a sexual monster for what he did with those different women. But can you even imagine the courage, the strength, and everything it took between the ages of 4 and 7 to have your sexual abuser still a part of your family and looking at you? It's like that took so much. And so really I felt sorry for him because I knew that how painful that had been to have to go through that, and so, it's something I had put on Facebook. I said, you always want to look at the root instead of looking at the fruit of a thing. And so when you look at that root, this was serious, Towanna. This was serious.
It was, and I felt sorry for him as well. Lanya did a fantastic job of moving them forward, but I think the missing piece again was looking, as you said, at the root of the thing a little bit more. When he introduced the tragedies from his childhood. That was just a small segment of something that was much greater, and whether his wife had knowledge of that abuse when he was a child or not, I think it was still necessary. And I know it's television, you can't go and see everything, but I think it's still worth having people here who is watching this video right now between you and I to understand that you cannot make a permanent decision off of a temporary emotion. That was a very, very big decision to leave your husband without having a full story. And that's why we have coaches like Martez who are experts at affairs who understand how to do the work. You want to talk about doing the work. You need to know people who have experienced it and who know what it is that you need to do to get over that stuff. Oh, it was powerful.
No,
so powerful.
No, that's powerful, Towanna, because what you just said is so true. My wife and I both were saying that because this wife also had an affair. So now she's hurt. So now she's going to leave the husband. She really needs some guidance. She needs to know how to navigate back to a healthy place along with him also. But when we looked at that, it was almost like they were opened up at the surgical table, and then pretty much Iyanla walked out the emergency room. So it's like, nobody really is there to do the sewing back up. And so I'm just hoping that, they're going to put her in connection with someone to help her to come back to a healthy place, because she's very broken.
Absolutely. And if she's watching, she needs to call you, Coach Martez, because at the end, no, I'm serious. At the end of the day.
No, that's what my wife said.
Well, yeah, because she can repeat this behavior. Something will be repeated, because what ends up happening, she had an affair. She had an affair. That part wasn't mentioned, but one time it was slid in there real quick.
Right.
So, okay, she had an affair. She had an affair for a reason. Whether she was pushed to the affair or not, that I don't want to even get into that. But what needs to be dealt with is the fact that she did have an affair for a reason, and that needs to be dealt with before she enters in a new relationship with anyone else. Even if she continues in this path, it's critical that her children be healed from the circumstance as well. Because those 3 kids, as beautiful as they are, they have seen and heard and will continue to hear the tragedy of this story as they grow up. I want people to understand this is not a criticism for Iyanla. This is not a criticism at all, because she only has 45 good minutes to communicate the truth and do as much as she can in that short period of time. And there's a lot that happens, that is cut away and ends up on the editing room floor. At the end of the day, Iyanla, you did a fantastic job. What we want to do
she
here.
did a great job.
Yeah, we're just here to fill in a gap, to help people who are in this situation, help to guide them on what are some steps that you can take. So, Coach Martez, kind of walk us through. So we're going to pretend as if this is we're first time hearing this. We need some help. So you have another viewer who's saying, I need you to fix my life, Coach Martez. What are some of the natural steps that they can take to transition, to begin the process of healing as they are on this path of renewal?
Well, one of the first things I would recommend is definitely trying to sit down with someone that is a specialist in that area of healing from infidelity. And what I tell people here, even in the local area, if you can't get into, or for some reason you can't afford financially the one-on-one coaching, you definitely want to get into a group setting, because you definitely need to place yourself in a position where you are hearing some positive feedback for all the negative thoughts and the negative feedback that you are being fed to yourself internally. That's the first thing you want to do, because you need some help to combat all the negativity that's in your head. Remember, infidelity is an emotional pain. So to deal with that emotional pain, you have to be able to deal with the mental thoughts and what you're hearing that's going on in your head. So that's the first thing you want to do. Towanna. The second thing you want to do is you want to set yourself onto a path of daily forgiveness. And let me say that again. Daily forgiveness. When you are trying to recover from infidelity and that hurt, you have to allow your heart to be willing to forgive daily, because I promise you, there are going to be times throughout the day where if you don't forgive, you're going to keep going back over and over, repeating the cycle of anger. And so that's another thing that you want to do. That's a practical step also. And then you want to paint the big picture. This is one of the questions that I ask all clients. If we take the infidelity out of your marriage, does this marriage still end up being a successful marriage?
Yes.
And if we can take that out and then we paint the big picture of what the marriage would have looked like if the infidelity wouldn't have happened, then what that tells me is
Mm-hmm.
the marriage can still look like that, even recovering from infidelity.
Absolutely.
That's
good.
good.
That is a powerful point, right? You really got to work through it, and it is a daily walk.
Yes.
And I appreciate everything that you have said, and I know you have helped some people that are watching. I know you have.
Definitely.
So are there any closing remarks?
One of the things that I said, and which my wife and I always say, having an affair does not have to destroy your marriage. It can cause your marriage to actually grow. For some people, this infidelity may be a sign to end the marriage, but for others, this could be just the greatest test that you ever want to face. So don't look at the infidelity as something that your spouse did against you. Really look at what was the cause of the infidelity. And when you both can take a real good look at responsibility and really see what caused this, then you make the decision after that to determine how do we move forward. But just the old saying, if you ever cheat on me, it's over. I'm sorry, everyone. That needs to go out the door. Because there are so many other factors involved that you got to look at preventing. You got to look at other things, other healthy things to have in place so that it doesn't have to come into place. So you won't end up being a woman that throws away the best thing that God brought into your life to only give it to someone else.
That's powerful. And Coach, I got to say one more thing. I thought we were going to close, but this is something that's super important. When you said that, if you ever cheat on me, that's the end of the marriage. That is the one caveat that so many people have dangling at the end of their vows. It is. It is a constant reminder that if you do that, then I will. If we would step back for just a minute and just, as you say, assess the situation before we make a decision. And that would include shutting the door to the external conversations. There are a lot of friends and family members in our lives that will make the matter worse because they are constantly giving input and making opinions about your life, not about other people and how they live their family life. It's your family. And if those friends and those loved ones care for you as much as they say they do, they will give you room to make that decision with no judgment and let you make that decision to stay or go and be supportive either way. Either way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw that little one in there in the end, because I'm telling you, friends and family have a way of breaking more marriages up, even in the end.
Yes.
You know that's true.
Also, the simple fact that this was a pastor is also another thing that burdened my heart, because of the fact when I was there and I actually had cheated on my wife and being actively involved in church, I was afraid to tell anyone in ministry. I was afraid to tell anyone in the church. And that's something that I really am trying to get out to the body of Christ. That's why we need professional coaches, professional counselors, so that you can come and get this off of your chest, because God is going to forgive you. He's going to show grace to you, but the longer you keep it inside without sharing with anyone, the worse it's going to be.
Absolutely. That is a great way to close this out. Thank you, Coach Martez. I am so grateful for you and your ministry and the work that you do as the affair doctor.